And you can kind of monitor that by, you can kind of tell which nostril is your dominant nostril at any given moment. And that's going to tell you if you're sort of in a parasympathetic state or sympathetic state. But it's naturally cycling back and forth. But just bringing it back to like a corporate and work environment, we tend to be on all the time. And so most people are in that sympathetic fight or flight nervous system state more often than really they should be, or more often than is sort of natural for our nervous system. And so that's where breathwork can help bring us back to that rest and digest in an intentional way through breathwork tools. And just back to the resilience, and what a breathwork practice will do is building resilience. It helps your body kind of find that balance of just naturally flowing back and forth between the two. And then you're just more sort of nimble from a nervous system perspective.
How much do you kind of talk about or work with people around the way they breathe outside their practice of breathing? Like when it comes to how they just breathe day in, day out.
Yeah, the great part about is that, it's sort of like training at the gym and building muscles because you want to go hike the Grand Canyon. And so it's the kind of thing where when you're putting that time in practice and then you're realizing like, oh, I could play pickleball for 2.5 hours and I wasn't even winded and everybody else was sweating and dying. Or, I could lift my garage door. I could get the whatever. I could pick my kids up. So the beautiful thing is when you're putting that little bit of intentional thinking practice, then you're able to sort of see in your life how just many things, you just expand your capacity. And as Jared was talking, the thing that we're not very good at really knowing the impact of our sleep. Like we can know that we wake up, but it's the same thing with our breath and like what our heart rate's doing. It's not until we get tools. And, you and I have talked about some of the tools that we're currently using, but when I have those tools and I see real data, I can't argue that, I read a thing the other day about a guy who was in court, a lawyer, and suddenly his data started showing that he was at like 155 heart rate. And so when we have those tools, we can start to see like, oh, wow, I am feeling better, but also I've got the data. And I still realized yesterday when I did that thing, I'm not going to do that thing anymore because that thing really messed me up. And I do want to hike the Grand Canyon. So it really gives us, it's like having a Waze. I always say like any sort of tools that we have that can give us real reflective, like you are making progress, because in order for us to continue the breathwork practice or continue these tools, we need several kinds of data. If I want to feel good, I can pick up my kid and hike and get out of the woods when they decide they can't walk anymore. I've had quite a few of those where you think you're going to go on a hike and you get halfway and you're like, oh, we turn around and now the 3-year-old doesn't want to walk anymore. And you back and your back doesn't hurt the next day. And you're just like, oh, wow, now I can feel the impact. And those are the things that keep us true to the practices because we've got that real experience, we've got the data. And that's exciting because you also start to realize, the age game is a game and you can win it. So many of the things today are telling us that we're going to get old and we're going to have all these things happen as if it is just going to happen because of the ticks on the clock. And that's absolutely it's a great marketing tool because then we think, oh my gosh, I might need that. And when we come back to what the power of the breath can do, there's a lot of American football players right now who are jumping into really teaching breath work because they will say that they could watch another player whenever they were on the field and they could see how that guy was breathing and know that they were going to crush him. It's fascinating to see it popping up, in some of the younger, football players and really performance athletes who are saying, I got a secret tool and it's breath work.
Yeah, no, but it's a good point that actually the practice can make you aware of things you may be doing not ideally in the rest of the day, and just become more aware of what it, and also like, then as you mentioned, like you kind of become more used to using the right muscles. You train the muscles that are activating when you're doing it. So I think it makes a lot of sense to do that.